Hey there, Warriors. Michael Howland here. So we're going to talk today about the stages of Parkinson's. Um, so when it comes to the stages of Parkinson's, the question I always challenge people with is, does it really matter? A lot of times people focus on that stage of Parkinson's as if they've just been diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. Oh my gosh, stage 4, that must be awful, you know. Well, of course, with cancer it is, but when it comes to Parkinson's, I'm going to make a controversial statement and a challenge to you to ponder this statement and also to consider the truth of it. What stage that you are in is irrelevant and really has no bearing on your success in successfully battling and being a warrior to fight Parkinson's. The stage, as you'll see in a few minutes, I think you'll agree it's irrelevant because of the reasons or how it was developed and why it was developed, and basically how what you do affects your stage. So let's dive in. So these are the stages of Parkinson's. So the stages are from a staging system called the Hohn and Yahr scale. And the Hohn and Yahr scale was developed primarily for research purposes when they were developing medications for Parkinson's disease. And they're still used in research, medical research, and neurobiology, things like that, for comparison purposes, because if somebody is completely unable to move and is chair bound versus somebody who's pretty functional and ambulatory, they wanted to find out ways to categorize those people, particularly in clinical trials, and to compare and contrast. So that's how the Hohn and Yahr stage came to be, and what most neurologists typically will use in basically finding out what severity of Parkinson's symptoms that you're experiencing. But so first, before I say that again, let's go into what each stage represents. And again, I think you'll notice something common about these as we go through them. So stage 1 is early Parkinson's, mild, typically one-sided symptoms. So one arm or the other, or one leg or the other, experiencing tremors and rigidity. And of course, rigidity refers to, we didn't talk about that in the first video, but that's another symptom of Parkinson's with the movement-related disorder is rigidity of the trunk. So decreased ability to rotate and to bend forward and backward. So stiffness, essentially. Stage 2, early PD, mild bilateral symptoms. So you have affected side on the right and the left. Loss of facial expression, so you start to get a little bit more of the masked face with less emotion noticed. Decreased blinking, speech changes, and trunk rigidity, so even more stiffness in the trunk. Stage 3, mid-stage or moderate, loss of balance is a key thing there, and slow movements, poor reactions to loss of balance. We mentioned reaction time in our first video about what is PD. All other symptoms previously listed are also included. Stage 4 is considered advanced or severe, disabling, noticeably incapacitated, even when able to walk and stand without help, needs help with activities of daily living. So a caregiver needs to be involved most of the time with stage 4. And then stage 5 is considered advanced or severe, inability to stand, fall when standing or turning, may freeze when walking or stumble, and they typically will have hallucinations or delusions. So basically, these people are chair bound or bed bound at stage 5. Okay, so one thing I think you'll notice about this is all of the symptoms described at each stage are very commonly related to physical presentation. So this is basically just what your neurologist is seeing in their office on the outside. So essentially, they're taking a glance at how you're moving, how you're walking, what side is affected more than the other, or both are affected, and then they're just stamping, okay, stage 3. The thing about stages of Parkinson's that I find fascinating, and why I say make the controversial but true statement, in my opinion, that the stages are irrelevant, is that therapy, in particular, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and we're going to get into exercise in future videos and what programs are really well known and work the best. But the exercise programs that are specifically therapy programs targeted to Parkinson's disease will reverse these symptoms. So I remember very recently a member of a Facebook group that I'm in on, obviously on Facebook, a member of one of the big Facebook groups said that she was a stage 4, went back to her neurologist for a checkup, and he said she was a stage 1. How often have you ever heard of somebody going back in stages from any other medical condition? You don't go from stage 4 liver cancer to stage 1 liver cancer. You either have cancer or you don't have cancer. So, and same thing, some other conditions might have a little fluctuation, like kidney disease. You got stages 1 through 5 of kidney disease, where your stage 5 is stage 4 or 5 is typically where you're, well, definitely 5 is considered end stage renal disease, where you're dependent on dialysis to stay alive. But you don't typically hear, even in that scenario, you don't typically have anybody in end stage renal disease go back to stage 2. Maybe stage 3, 2, 1, you can heal a little bit and go, back a little bit, so your kidneys aren't quite as damaged at stage 2, and you might get a little more healing and go back to stage 1. Anyway, that may not be the best example, but there aren't many things in the medical world or medical diagnoses where you can go back. And this is something that is absolutely possible with PD, because exercise programs developed for Parkinson's are specifically targeted to the impairments listed here. And the reason that they can reverse is because those exercise programs find ways to essentially relearn better movement patterns by tapping into other areas of the brain that are not damaged. So aren't damaged by Parkinson's. So it's a very, very fascinating, interesting thing to me as a clinician, as a physical therapist, doctor of physical therapy. I think that's really one of the things that makes me the most excited and love treating Parkinson's disease clients, is the ability to improve in very quickly in a lot of cases. I'm just going to say this right now, hand to God. I have worked with people that depended upon a walker or cane that were dependent on them when I got done with therapy in a month's time. It's that big of an impact, which again is why I say over and over, exercise is crucial in fighting Parkinson's disease. You need medication, most likely, for the dopamine levels to stay more stable, hopefully over time. But exercise helps to battle those physical limitations. And it also helps heart and mind as well as the body. So again, the whole overarching thing with this video is just to remember, that all of this, okay, that was terrible. Undo. All of this is a terrible circle, is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Don't pay attention to it. Don't stress over it. You all, it doesn't matter what stage of Parkinson's you're in. It only matters what you do to fight the physical limitations of the disease. And it matters what you do to learn about all of the resources that you have available at your fingertips, as well as the resources particularly that we're providing right here in the inner circle. Knowledge is power. My passion is to empower you with that knowledge. And also, I really enjoy helping people in person with the physical aspect of it as a PT. So, but the best of both worlds. So just remember that. Don't focus on that stage. Don't stress over it. It's just a number. Kind of like they say about age. But I really enjoy these talks with you, and I'm really looking forward to the next video. Stay tuned for that in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be discussing this in the group in our live Q&A.